really affects you in a serious way, in an illegal way, is that THCA, that is the carboxylic acid derivative that is present in abundance in hemp and cannabis and marijuana, is thermally unstable, and so is CBDA, cannabidiol cannabidiolic acid is a chemical name. And if you use gas chromatography, you will decompose these either in the flash vaporization chamber, where you're trying to vaporize it all in a pulse and you've injected it, or in the column itself, and you can't detect when you're getting decomposition because it'll be lost in the baseline. It'll just be noise in the baseline. Now that problem doesn't exist with high performance liquid chromatography because we operate those at or near room temperature. So we're not heating the sample, which is what gives you the inaccuracy. And it's important because you will have falsely high values for THC because you converted other things to that from what's in the plant itself. So I know that's a little complicated. The gas chromatographs are less expensive, but they're inadequate and they will cause you problems in that they don't tell you all you want to know. And I see people buying these and I try to tell them, be careful, because if you rely on them, you may hurt yourself. You really would be better off going to a lab, and all the labs that are certified on the medical program, go to CAN labs, and they will only use, and can only use, HPLC, because they and others in the literature have really proven this point in a very convincing way. So I'm not trying to proselytize. I'm not selling liquid chromatographs or anything, but I really just want all of you to know that you hurt yourself if you use gas chromatography and you partially decompose your sample in a way that gives you a false result.
That's interesting news.
So, again, what Bob said, we've tried to address, or looking at how we address the rules that, the Act talks about rules and how we impose or how we provide for them, and those are continuing discussions we continue to have. We've tried to address them as best we can. At this point in time, we also realize that if we did the liquid system, those tests that are expensive now, we've had a lot of complaints at $150, would be around $1,200 to $1,500. So when I talked about taking 100 samples at $150, now we're talking $1.5 million worth of tests. So we understand, and we are addressing it. Our lab is looking at it. So, okay.
The other thing I might just clarify too, let me just clarify the number that everybody's concerned about is the 0.3. Mm-hmm. And in the testing that we did this year with gas chromatography, a lot of the results were way below that. And so if you are doing your own testing and you confirm that with gas chromatography and you confirm that it's below 0.3, then you're scientifically fine, right? Okay.
Yes.
Yes, I am wondering, is any of the registrant data public?
So what's public? When you register with us, some things have to be public. It's called a CORA request. Some things we protect for your business confidentiality. So if somebody asks or calls, well, I want all the registrants, or I want all the registrations, again, back to that, why we have to clarify the two, because it's two completely different lists, but what we have to provide is the name of the business, primary contact person, the county, not the location, but the county of which you're growing in, your mailing address, an email contact, and your post office or mail address. We don't provide varieties, we don't provide acres, we don't provide the actual location. That's all confidential business information.
Including harvest data.
Including harvest data. What we would do with harvest data, maybe to do a composite. I mean, that's what we look at, is to insulate so that we can help the industry grow, we're looking at ways that we can compile data, that we can give the industry some of the tools it needs to help grow without sharing individual data. And sometimes that's a difficult thing, because we get somebody that says, well, boy, how many acres are in this county? And I have one registrant, and it's like, okay, I can't share with the registrant. And then the guy says, well, I drove by a place that was 4 acres. And it's like, oh, so I just told him there's one registrant. But that's as far as I can get. But we are looking at how do we protect what information, and what can we do in a composite that helps the industry.
And also, I'm wondering, what percent of the registrants were indoor registrants?
Boy, I'd have to look. I honestly couldn't tell you what
Can I
that
email
is.
you and ask you that?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I just want to mention that I'm with the Rocky Mountain Hemp Association, and we're going to work out an arrangement with the state so that we can get that basic information on a regular basis and update our map. So all we have right now is a name, an email, and a city or county, which I think is enough. We don't want anybody inundated. We want to be able to provide and let everyone know where the registrations are, and you can contact them if you really want to.
My name is Josh Ritter, and I'm with CDA on that. I think, from what I've heard, and although it's a great attempt at what we're doing to get this testing done, there's a lot of big money coming into this industry right now. And a lot of people are very concerned with reading this saying that a field can be seized perhaps, or it has to be handed over to law enforcement if it goes beyond that 0.3%, which, as a lot of us know who have been in the industry, there is sometimes a 5% variance on a lot of these tests. Now, if I'm coming in and saying, hey, I have a $40 million field of product here, and for some reason there is an invariability, yes, Joe Schmo has got something in his backyard, that's great and all, but I have $40 million worth of product here, and if we don't all set up, and we're willing to pay for it, and you said there's a backlog, we can't rely on bureaucracy to do this, because if we're going to make this investment, change our crops over and put millions and millions of dollars worth of infrastructure into the state of Colorado, we need to have a completely, the best German scientist from Zurich coming in here, and if we all have to pay a tax on that, I'm sure we are happy to do that, depending on the size of your farm. But we can't deal with a bureaucratic system where people are waiting 6, 7 months to get tests and 3 months, where if I can't wait 2 weeks to get my test result back, in that 2 weeks, my THC levels may have gone above the 0.3 in that time, because at the very last time of harvest, that's where the THC is being changed and generated. So I think I'm not speaking for everyone here, but I think we all would like to really get that locked in as a primary concern, is that whether there is money set aside so that the millions and millions and billions of dollars that can be flowing into Colorado and invested are for sure being tested on this product that is absolutely within the parameters, because I can't have investment being burned by law enforcement because of a test result from a chromatography laboratory that was inconsistent. When I have $60 million, hey, take $1 million, get a lab, let's make a lab, let's put it together, because we're at a level now where we can supersede the corn industry, which is failing in Colorado. And there's a lot of, and even at the price of alfalfa right now, industrial hemp, if you look at everything in Hungary, you get 4 times the price. So even if you grow the worst industrial hemp possible, these alfalfa farms switch over, which is a tough commodity here in Colorado right now. Every one of them is looking at increasing the product 4 times. So if you guys are all down with me and we can somehow get in consensus with this, I believe we should put money into a separate organization, or donate money to your facility, or you guys can give us an idea of what you need. You need $1 million, you need $5 million, please tell us. I'll be happy to get it for you. That's what we've been doing. All of us have been running around raising money. So if you need money to get a test lab to ensure our businesses will be successful, you got it.
Yeah, so one thing I want to point out is that, and this is kind of a difficult one, you just mentioned you were with the CBD producer and how many millions of dollars that's worth. Mm-hmm. The difficult part we have right now with the Department of Ag is that we were told how we could collect money, what that money had to come from. One of that is not use, end use. Doesn't have anything to do with who or what you're going to do with that product. you've said the same thing so many CBD people have told us. And it's that, boy, my crop is worth millions. Why are you charging me $500? This is stupid. Charge me $5,000, $10,000. I'm happy to write you a check for more. The problem is we really have two industries that overlap one another. And that same high value that you're talking about in a CBD crop is not necessarily the same in a biofuels crop or a fiber crop. And so we struggle with how we can fund the program within the confines of the laws that were written for us to follow. So understand, we hear what you're talking about.
As I know, Dwayne says anything.
Find us a way, make a
I
nonprofit,
have
do
questions
something.
too.
Open your own labs. One thing we
We need
can,
to all be under agreement with each other. We need to have a lab that we all are part of, that we all are committed to.
one thing I think we
And I
need
can't do that, I have other fish to fry right now. We're happy to raise the money, and we're happy to get you money.
one thing I think we need to take away from that is, we may have some constraints within CDA about how to make that happen. But with CU and CSU, I think, and with this coherent group, I think there is a way to look at some of those options and put that together, either maybe at one of those institutions
It's
or
really
something.
important to bring in large-scale agriculture to Colorado. And if we're not talking about hundreds of acres anymore, we're talking about millions of acres or hundreds of thousands of acres, and developing the eastern slope. This is going to be an imperative part of that.
Let me ask something too. Going back to what I said before, as you're probably all aware, there's a lot of detail in Amendment 64 about marijuana and how it's tested and regulated. This is a statutory program, so the legislature has a lot of authority in terms of allocating money, accepting money from industry. We're talking about rules here, but all these rules are driven by the statute. So there's, you might want to be talking to the legislature as well. The other thought I'd like to throw out here, the testing under the rules is done through protocols developed in consultation with industry and our lab folks and stuff. And we're well aware of this particular issue. And there's payment issues, but in terms of your payment, in terms of cost issues, that some people that have 1 acre and it tests hot, maybe they want to just take advantage of the waiver provision and feed that stock to their animals on their farm, and they go on and grow a different variety next year.
If they can test it every week and see if their THC levels are below 0.3, they could take that harvest before it has to be thrown away, and they could actually use the harvest for fiber material and seed if it's a premature harvest, as long as the testing system is in place so they can have tests every week or every day as they need it. That's going to make or break. If this 0.3 is the make or break line, that can happen over a 3 to 4 day period with an entire crop. So I tell a farmer to throw away your crop, why not set up a better testing system or allow him to pay for his tests?
Well, it also has to be reasonably priced.
It has to be reasonably priced, yeah. It should be scalable to the amount of acres you have.
Grant?
Grant Orbis from the Colorado Mental Cooperative. So I would like to say, as kind of reiterate on Cash's, Dwayne, Brian, Sharon are phenomenal. They will help you out in every single aspect, every time. I've been here for 4 different registrations. Sharon sits down and goes through the registration and makes sure that everything is correct. And if something is incorrect, she has us change it so that we never have to worry about being a problem. Eric and Keith, who are at the testing facility at the CDA, were also awesome. They opened up their doors to the cooperative and showed us around. We have all the materials and methods that are needed to build an identical laboratory to the CDA. I do, however, agree with Dr. Sievers that we'd rather use the liquid chromatography in comparison to the gas because of the